This is Culture, Communication, and Brand Moments with Shelby Jo Long, the show that takes you around the world to share interviews with some of the most successful and relevant people on the planet, hear their stories, and get the most important business lessons they have learned on their road to success, and get exclusive advice on how to implement their success into your life and business. Culture, Communication, and Brand Moments is brought to you by the Strategic Advisor Board and your host, Shelby Jo Long.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Genius Entrepreneur Podcast. I'm Shelby Jo Long. I'm your host, and I love to host this podcast to talk to other geniuses and experts that have created businesses out of their own expertise to inspire you to think about your expertise in a different way. I am the host, and I have the opportunity today to introduce this new business that I am a part of and very excited to be a part of because it's a collaboration of multiple leadership perspectives all under one roof. And we look to serve our community and serve the conversation about leadership in a different way. So Apex Leadership Institute is the company that we're going to introduce today. There's 4 members. I am one of them. And we are going to talk about what we offer, and we're going to talk about this new event that we are offering the community coming up in August. So I'll start. We have had multiple leadership conversations, me and my fellow Apex Leadership Institute members and I, throughout the years, whether it's with the Chamber of Commerce or events going on in town, many things that are happening in Billings, and we just felt like it was time to elevate the conversation about leadership in Billings, Montana. And this can happen in Billings, but also all across Montana and all across the US, because it's time to have that conversation about leadership. And I think particularly in the post-COVID era, where we're all starting to get together again and understand that our leadership skills need some honing, and we need to practice these things and bring in some experts to have the conversation about how to be better leaders, not only in our community, but in our businesses, and to help serve our clients better. It just makes the whole business community just a better place to be. So that's what makes me excited to have this conversation with everybody in this room. A little bit about my background. I have my own business called Business Dynamics. I help people create businesses out of their genius. And I also have access to the Strategic Advisor Board, another business I'm a part of that has all the elements to help scale your business, whether you need infrastructure as far as your digital infrastructure or marketing or financial help, whatever that is, we have that all under one roof. And then also a publishing company. And I thought that in this group, what I bring to this group is that I help the word be able to get out about what we're doing, and also have a network of people to be able to bring our services to. Because we're not just in Billings, Montana, we're in all over the US, and our networks are all over the US, and we have that opportunity to bring that education and bring those perspectives to wherever we want. So that's a little bit about my background. We'll move on to Dave Nordel. Dave, can you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your background and what you bring to this leadership conversation?
Sure. I'm looking at the Hollywood Squares here. I think I'm outnumbered, right? There's a show like that. It's great. Hey, so I'm Dave Nordel, and a proud citizen of Billings and proud friends and colleagues with all of you. And I have a passion for leadership that's driven from 30 years of military service. And, after 30 years, I tell people the day that I got in the military, that my first day in basic training, I started to get leadership developed all the way through a 30-year career to very, very senior leadership, opportunities and development type of things. And the one thing that I know, and to your point, Shelby Jo, the one thing that I know is that communities and states and countries and even the world do not function, grow, and become better without the right kind of leaders in front of things. And so, my genre, you would say, is military, but I'd also say it's people. And, as we talk about in our company meetings, as we talk about, the average person starts leading people at 30. They don't, they do that job for about 9 years, and then they start leading people that are leading people. And right now, on average, they get their first leadership their touch of leadership training at about 42 years old. So the passion here is to close that gap for one. And then the other passion is to take the skills that I've learned, that I use in MaxFab Consulting to build communities that are not only leadership strong, but strong in the veteran community, and utilizing veterans appropriately and working with entrepreneurs to become vet ready, which is a core program that I offer for folks. We're probably going to ask each of us, kind of how we got together and how we met. And it's funny because we do get that question when we walk around town. In fact, this week we all got that question. How did you meet Dave? How did you meet Melanie? How did you guys end up together? And I think the answer is very easy. It's a passion for taking our genius, which is what you do, our genius, our passion, and instituting it into our community and our local, into our community and our state and into our nation, in a way that helps people make impacts when you're coming out of COVID, or when we have national challenges or state challenges or local challenges, to build the continuum of leaders. And I know Jen will talk more about this because we did this week. So I'm happy to be on the team. MaxFab Consulting is all in, and this is just a powerful group. And all you have to do is ask anybody around town when they see 4 of our pictures, besides the fact that they're going to ask the question, how the heck did you guys end up together? So it's great to be here.
Well, great to have you. And it's interesting because we've all been in this similar spaces, but now we're united under this vision. It started in the entrepreneurship community at Million Cups, where we're doing presentations and bringing people together, and which is all about bringing people together and developing entrepreneurs and leaders in our community. And I think it's a lot of fun to be able to see this go to the next level. This was not happening 6 months ago, and now we have this great team and this amazing event coming up here in the next couple of months. But let's continue. Melanie, why don't you tell us about yourself?
Thanks, Shelby Jo. I'm excited to be here, excited to be part of this group. It was a vision that I have had my whole career. It's always about how do we mentor the next group of leaders. And I've had such wonderful mentors throughout my entire career, and I just want to bring that to the next generation, if you will. I am actually own my own business. I have a couple of businesses, actually. Corridor Management Group, which is a public relations communications firm. And then I'm just recently starting to do some work around addiction for families. I personally had that experience with our daughter, and so I wrote a book about it, and it's been very popular. And it's also opened a ton of conversations about addiction. And recently, I've noticed how many people, especially in the workplace, are starting to talk about it. There's a lot it's affecting our community. Substance use, mental health are both just huge topics. And so I've started working in the education piece as well, doing some education for workplace, education for other families that are experiencing that in their homes. But the big thing for me was I've been in this community a long time, and I think COVID sort of put a stop to some of the in-person learning we were doing with each other and with our younger leaders. And I really am optimistic that this group is going to bring that back. And so if you add up all the years of leadership in this, just on this Zoom call, we've done a lot of things, we've seen a lot of things, and I think we bring a different perspective because we're all we're different leaders in our own right. And the other thing that I've noticed recently about leadership is we're expecting our leaders to do more than we've ever expected from them before. And the part that I kind of bring to the table is I talk about empathy as a foundational trait for leadership. And I think leaders are now being expected to really bring that personal side to the business world. And how do you do that gracefully? How do you do it without too much information, not enough? And I think that'll be an exciting piece for me. Thanks so much, Shelby Jo, for having us today.
Absolutely. Love how we're all coming together, and how you have been involved with multiple organizations to help foster that community development and the conversation about leadership. And it's invaluable, and it's an invaluable asset to have on the team. Similar to Jennifer, who also has that community involvement. And it just is great to have us, again, all under the same roof with the similar mission, just a whole different network. So Jennifer, why don't you introduce yourself?
Great, thank you. Jennifer Reiser, currently new to this entrepreneurship role, which without the support of the three of you, I don't think I probably would have taken that leap. It's something I've talked about for a long time. Melanie knows that. Being able to share what I've learned with others is really important to me. And as Melanie stated, people who have invested in us, it's our turn to invest in others. I have an environmental public health background and a nonprofit management background. And as I was thinking about how do I introduce and how do I kind of launch this Jennifer Reiser consulting business, for me, it really is, it started with the ability to identify problems and create solutions, bring people together, similarly to what our institute has done, to leverage their strengths and do better. For me, it's always looking for leadership in unique places and looking for it in sort of those unsuspecting places, and then connecting dots. And whether it is connecting people to one another, or it's connecting people to their place in terms of workforce retention, how do we keep employees engaged in organizations and in a community? And then also looking at the power of community. And that's the piece that I bring to Apex, is the how do we look at community? How do we look at it as not just the place in which we live, but it's the people that we connect with, and it's the sort of subgroups that we are forming, and how do we come together around issues? How do we come together around identity? And what are those communities that are missing in our world, in our own individual spaces, and how can we work together to build those?
Absolutely. Again, invaluable asset to have on the team, already bringing together a community, and to bring that piece to Apex Leadership Institute to just spread the conversation about it. All of these things are so exciting for me to see, because I've been a member of this community for, about 17 years now. And as a communication professor that teaches business communication concepts, trying to engage students in the business community too, and to see how that community is built and to see how those leadership concepts are being expressed in the community, I think is so important. And that kind of leads us to our launch event, that's coming up here in August. And I'm going to have Dave talk about this specifically, but what makes me excited about that is that we're bringing a new resource into the community to help unite us all together and to help elevate everybody's leadership skills that are a part of this community and a part of this event. And I'm excited about it because it's Dr. Stephen Long, who we're going to bring in, teaches a lot of the same concepts that we've been talking about in all of our areas, whether it's talking about mental health and addiction, or bringing community together, or elevating our own experience, or integrating into the community after a military career. All of those things happen through understanding strengths, developing on those strengths, and engaging those strengths in your communication, in your leadership. So, Dave, why don't you tell us a little bit about the speaker that we're bringing in and talk to us about this August event?
Sure. I think one of the great segues is that your network is your net worth. And so the four of us bring a tremendous network from everywhere. And so one of the benefits of that network, where the community benefits from the Apex Leadership Institute, so us collaborating together, but also bringing our networks together, is people like Dr. Long. So Dr. Stephen Long started off in athletics out of high school and got into the coaching tree, and actually the Joe Paterno coaching tree, and got really connected with a lot of high-performing people in his life. And as he was working through his PhD, he wanted to figure out why somebody that had the exact same physical talents and everything was equal, why one person could make an 8-foot putt every time they took the the putt, and the other person couldn't. And it came down to what he boiled down to and did his dissertation on, and actually has a test, a tool to kind of show you where you can take your greatness and even become greater. And this is at the major CEO level all the way down to the new manager level through the prosperity trait. It's unique to him. Some of us have taken the test. And you kind of get to, you get a word picture, you get a number that goes along with it, which can be a little bit daunting, but that's okay, because that's your improvement space. But what he does is he brings in the mindset where you can look at things and say, wow, I'm really good at this, but if I did these 2 extra things, I would be better. For instance, a story he likes to tell is a lot of people that he works with, especially in the entrepreneur space and the senior leader space, or leadership in general, but the senior leader space, is if somebody's making $1 million a year and he works with them and they make 2 million the next year, they will equate that to, you made me, you doubled my profit. And he tells them, no, I recaptured the money that you were losing, because it's very important for people to have people in their lives, and this is what we're doing, to have people in their lives and to have information in their lives that's actionable. It's not a checklist. It's not a 5 ways or a 5 hows thing. It's a, how do I work on myself to be the most efficient with my time and the way that, the way that I work with myself. So Dr. Long brings all of that. So this genre covers all the spaces that we work in, for sure, but it covers the whole continuum of leadership, from somebody that's brand new, that's got their first person they're supervising, to somebody that's running a company, or especially their own company, and how to get better and how to take those next steps. So that's awesome. And the best part is that once he takes us through all of that, and he'll be our keynote at the end, obviously, we're all going to break out, and our community gets to actually come and consume us, right? And to get into the next, second, third, fourth layers of what we bring and where we're at, because it's almost like a menu. And I think everybody has an appetite for leadership, and sometimes they're looking for what fits their appetite for that day. And I think people would be hard pressed to look at the menu of Apex leadership and not be able to find what their appetite is calling for. And I think that we can shape that. And sometimes that's Jen and Dave showing up, and sometimes that's Shelby and Melanie showing up, or 3 of us, or 1 of us. It just depends on what you need and how we shape it. But it's all out there. The appetite's out there. The need is out there. We know that there's some gaps that can be filled, and I think we're a one-stop shop. And Dr. Long's going to help us get there. So I think it's great.
Yeah, I'm excited I need to have a podcast with him so we can dive a little bit deeper into his method and the tool that he has. That's probably the next step that I need to organize. But I'm excited to have him in town just to have that conversation about what's our own strengths and have a different perspective that we might not have had in this community before. Melanie, do you have anything to add about that event, about what's going on with the event in August?
Yeah, I'm really excited about this event because it really does launch Apex Leadership Institute, which we're excited about, and there's future things that are happening there. But it also allows our community to have a one-of-a-kind event. We've never... When we listened to Dr. Stephen Long and he was kind of telling us what his plan was and how he was going to roll it out, I was thinking to myself, I've been to a lot of leadership training in my years. I've never heard anything with his perspective. And the amount of passion that he had when he was describing it to us, I mean, it was like, you just wanted to go. And I hope we are capturing that and telling people that it will be worth your day. It will absolutely be worth your day. The other great thing is we're hosting this at our brand new medical school. And we have the very first medical school in the state of Montana right here. And so they've been really gracious, and they're going to let us host it there. So another add-on, a value add, if you will, just to get to see some of the innovation that's happening right here in our own community. I think the one thing that I'm excited about with Dr. Long is the way he described it to me was, if you're an Olympic athlete, because he's worked with Olympic athletes as well, it is, what does 2 seconds mean to you? What does adding 2 seconds of excellence mean to an Olympic athlete? Well, for them, it means a gold medal. So if you think about that analogy in your everyday work, what does 2 more leadership traits mean to your team? It might mean that next leader gets to go be the CEO that they've dreamed of being down the road. And so I think we have to think about that as a responsibility as senior leaders at this point, is we're taking people, if we take our leadership up just 2 notches, we're actually bringing along other leaders in that same way. And so we're just opening leadership to our community in a new way, which I just love Dr. Long's approach on that.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly, because I think the core of what he gets to is influence, and it's your influence, your ability to influence others, and your ability to perform. And as CEOs, we're all CEOs of our own companies. And other entrepreneurs and managers and leaders out there, we have to think about what we just harnessing the strengths in ourselves and our own areas to be able to create the biggest influence we can in the areas that we're working. Jennifer, do you have anything to add about the event in August?
Actually, I do. As we look at the learning and the inspiration side that was just described by Dave and Melanie, I also think about the networking side of it for the leaders in our own community, and how coming together and investing in themselves really will elevate their team and their organizations and our community. And in doing so, they identify some gaps, perhaps, and then we can work together to fill those, of course. But then you also sometimes recognize or identify redundancies and overlap, and how can we utilize those to best create efficiencies and spend our time and our resources more wisely as we, continue in this kind of war for talent, if you will. And how do we, engage with people that are already here, but how do we create a space where people who are coming into our community for the first time, either to visit or to work, are able to feel like, 1, that they're welcome, and 2, that they belong here. And if that doesn't immediately happen for them, when the next best thing comes along, they're not, they're a little bit more willing to leave. And so if we want to, continue to grow our community and to grow the assets and the amenities and everything else that's here, it's going to take that initial investment, and bringing the people together and investing in themselves is a really great place to start.
You can't be a better leader unless you invest some time in yourself, and also invest in time with those around you that are all elevating their own skills. And it's a great place to have a conversation about that. Somebody remind me of the logistics of this. We need to sign up and take this test at a certain time. What are the dates? Dave or Melanie,
I'll hop
any of
in.
you have those?
I can help you with the dates. So the date of the event is August 18th, and it's an all-day event. And the way we've set it up is it's got 2 sections to it. We are encouraging the CEOs of companies to come for a kind of a special breakfast where we talk about that being that single senior leader in your organization. We start there, and then we go into Dr. Long's keynote and then some breakouts, as we talked about. So it's an all-day event, and then at the end, we've done a networking reception. So it should be a really fun day. The way you can register is through apexleadershipinstitute.com, which is our website, and it's super easy to register. If you have a bigger team, though, and you're interested in bringing several people, please reach out to one of us via that website, and we can get you signed up maybe for a sponsorship or some discounts if you have multiple people attending. It should be a fun day. And right now we're in the early bird special. So if you register before July 14th, you're still in the early bird. And the reason we did that is part of this special day is you have to take the Prosperity Index. We want you to come that day having taken this Prosperity Index, because Dr. Long will talk specifically to your index, but also to how the group dynamics are in that room. And I think that's really interesting. So you don't want to miss that opportunity to be part of that and have taken the index by when you arrive at the event. So again, August 18th in Billings, Montana, out at the new Rocky Vista University College of Osteopathic Medicine.
That's great. And we'll make sure to include that, the website in the contacts on this podcast too. So we're able to register for that.
Shelby?
Yeah, go ahead, Dave.
Melanie forgot one thing that's really important. we're feeding everybody because food matters.
Food does matter. You can't grow your brain without having some
That's
nourishment.
right. See, we cover all aspects right down to the basics. So
First leadership lesson, if you invite people over lunch, feed them.
Feed them. They will come if there is food. Well, and I'm excited about the not only the personal development that will happen that day, but the networking that can happen from that too. The four of us have had multiple conversations about how to elevate the leadership conversation in this community, and now we're just going to expand our network. So Jennifer, do you have anything to add about this event on the 18th of August?
I think really driving people to the website is the most important piece, just reading through the agenda, understanding what's going to be offered and how they'll have choice to attend different breakouts. And also, as Melanie mentioned, with some of the sponsorship opportunities, there's some additional consultation with the Apex Leadership Institute that comes with that. And so there is a next. The event itself is a really great launching point for us, but also for the experience and the connections that we're going to create.
Absolutely. So important to recognize too, that this is not our only event. This is the beginning of the conversation. We will continue this conversation. We'll bring Dr. Long back. We'll bring other experts in. All of us will host things. We're already talking about an event in Great Falls to be organized here very soon. But we want to get into the community. We want to elevate the conversation, and we want to help people harness their own leadership strengths and take that to the next level so we can make all of our businesses and our community a better place to be. So any last thoughts about the August 18th event, team? I think we covered pretty much everything. But if you need to find more out about Apex Leadership Institute and our event on the 18th, I'll include the link on the podcast. Next podcast, I'll get in with the conversation with Dr. Stephen Long to talk to him about his unique perspective and how it was developed, to understand about how geniuses can come together to help better serve their community and better serve the leaders in their community. So let's talk about how to create a business out of your genius. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening to Culture, Communication, and Brand Moments with your host, Shelby Jo Long. Please leave your feedback and visit strategicadvisorboard.com to get the latest and greatest business advisement on the planet. Follow us on social media for updates, and we will see you on the next episode.